Good morning everyone. Welcome to Quantifiers. Today we are going to be starting with the first session of reading comprehension. We are going to be having and launching a series of reading comprehension for 2026, and today is going to be the first session where we are going to be discussing about the importance of reading comprehension, the basics of reading comprehension, followed by a very basic reading comprehension in order to gauge and understand how you're supposed to do the reading comprehension part, why RC is very important for your exam, and what are the tips and strategies that are going to help you understand and relate to the emotion, the tone and the intent of the author. Right? Now, why is reading comprehension something that is very important for CAT? If you look at CAT as an exam, specifically the VARC part, tentatively around 66 to 70% of the exam is based on your reading comprehension. When you talk about the reading comprehension of CAT, it is not just testing you on one domain, that is management. There are multiple disciplines of reading that you need to master. You may have passages that are coming from the field of social sciences, for example, philosophy, arts, history, literature, mathematics. Pure sciences, when you talk about physics, you talk about chemistry, you talk about biology. So these are all the subjects that are heavily tested by the test makers of CAT. Today we are going to be having a very basic and engaging session whereby you will learn as to how you are supposed to map the passage, the physical mapping of the details of the passage, which is over a period of time taken care of by the mental imaging of the passage. Now, to begin with, if you just have a look at the screens, so now we have this particular passage, which is not a very difficult passage to be comprehended. It is something that is testing the basics and the fundamentals of reading comprehension related to CAT. If you look at this particular passage is talking something about public policy. It is talking about the economic policies, and there are two major topics and two major questions that are being discussed by the author in this. Now, let us say that I am a novice, I know nothing about reading comprehension. मुझे आरसी पढ़ना नहीं अच्छा लगता, मुझे बहुत बोरिंग लगता है, right? मेरे को इकोनॉमिक्स से रिलेटेड कुछ भी अच्छा नहीं लगता, मुझे पब्लिक पॉलिसी मेकिंग का कुछ भी नहीं पता. The first mandate in order to start liking a particular topic is to develop a habit of reading. When you talk about the reading comprehension part, for example, this particular passage, which may be very new to some of us, which may be something that we find pretty boring, but how do you address that particular concern? The first part is, first and foremost thing that you need to do is to master the art of reading. And how do you master the art of reading? It is through developing the basic strategy and basic fundamental of reading any passage that comes your way. So I don't like economic policies, fine, that's okay. What should be the first thing that I should do? I should open the book, I should pick up any passage that is holding on to my attention, develop a habit of reading, and then try to get into a multitude of disciplines related to the topics that are being tested in CAT. Now, if you look at this particular passage, the first paragraph is basically, is our public policy on economic to environmental issues based on science? Do facts, evidence and objective deliberations determine it? Or do we rely largely on our hunches and gut feelings? This is something that is a very important part of this first paragraph. Our ideological sense of how the world works, what Thomas Sowell termed vision, is the stand on a policy issue set by our ideology and the rhetoric of science used mainly to rationalize it. Now, there's a word that the author is using here, that is rhetoric. What do you mean by rhetoric? Rhetoric is the common narrative, जो common एक opinion market में आपका spread हो रखा है. Now, if you look at the first paragraph, the author is just asking the readers a couple of questions. He's giving us some sort of a food for thought. He wants us to understand the passage from the point of view of a couple of questions, whereby he is asking that whenever it comes to any environmental issue, are we just going by a gut feeling, or are we just going by the narrative that is there in the market? Right? Everybody says, just giving an example, everybody says the climate is changing, there's a lot of global warming. Are we empirically validating it, or just because I've overheard from 20 people that there is global warming that is happening, and that is why I am accepting that particular claim. That is precisely what the author is talking about, that we are merely, he's questioning us, that are we merely understanding everything just because our gut feeling and our hunches say so. Further, let us look at the progression of thought from the first paragraph to the second. You need to understand the loops that are being set in the passage given by the author. The question cannot be answered in the abstract. What do you mean by abstract? Abstract is something that is, when you talk about feelings, they are abstract. When you talk about this pen, I can break it, this is concrete. But whatever is happening in my mind is something that is abstract. So that means intangible is abstract. So he's talking about the fact that when you're looking out for the answers of these questions, they cannot be answered in an abstract. A specific case study is required. Take two recent environmental issues. The Supreme Court's order on the use of CNG, so this is the first case study he's giving us for public transport in Delhi, and the position of the Center for Science and Environment, that is CSE, that to save the chiru, the endangered Tibetan antelope, the government should remove the ban on shatush trade and allow farming of the chiru. Now he's basically, first paragraph was a couple of rhetorical questions that were being put forward by the author, and he says that these questions cannot be answered randomly. You cannot simply say that these questions can be answered in a very abstract form. What is he trying to say? He's trying to say that these things have to be answered by looking at the real life case study. He's giving us two examples. The first example is the Supreme Court's verdict or order on using CNG for public transport in Delhi. And second is the case of saving the chiru, that is an antelope. Now when you talk about an antelope, it is a four-legged animal that is from the family of goats and cows. And he's again made a term or used a term that is shatush. It is some sort of a fabric which is weaved because of the hair of the chiru, and it is sold at a higher rate than what pashmina, as you must have heard about it. So it is basically, it keeps the body very warm. It's a clothing. And allow farming of the chiru. Now, when he says, I agree, that is the voice and the opinion of the author. I agree with CSE's chiru policy, but disagree with Supreme Court's CNG stand. So here, through this particular paragraph, we can understand that somehow the author is supporting or advocating or probably somewhat accepting the claim with regards to chiru, but he's totally rejecting the stand that has been taken by the Supreme Court when it comes to the CNG. But my personal stance is not the issue. This is not to criticize the apex court or CSE. I hope both would see the larger purpose of the analysis. Now, he's neither accepting a claim, neither is he rejecting a particular thing, right? What is he saying? That there should be some sort of an empirical validation of the fact कि चाहे वो CNG से related हो, चाहे वो आपका चिरू से related हो, आपको further इसमें investigation करनी चाहिए before passing some sort of an order. अब क्या investigation करनी है, वो case studies को आगे discuss कर रहा है. Let's begin with CSE's chiru policy as outlined in How is the Wild. In May 31 issue of Down to Earth, basic facts. Which part of chiru's body gives the wool? At one point we are told it's neck hair, but later two layers of hair, the guard hair and the undercoat, provide the antelope the armor that is guard against the cold. The undercoat which is sheared. What is shearing? Shearing is removing. So the undercoat which is sheared or combed for making shatush is said to be the thickest during winter. Is it the undercoat or the neck hair? Do they grow back once sheared? No answer. Now again, if you look at the progression of thought, he begins the passage by asking us a couple of questions. In the second paragraph, he's seeking out answers but to no avail. And then he is basically analyzing the case studies. That is the first part of the case study, which is related to the Chiru. And further, when we are going to proceed in the passage, we would understand that he is again raising a couple of questions on the credibility of the order passed by the Supreme Court related to the CNG. So in the first part, what is he talking about? When he is analyzing the CSE's Chiru policy, he says, with what hair do you make the shatush? That is a shawl or a fabric kind of a thing. Is it that you're making it from the guard hair, or is it that you're making from the undercoat? Now, if you have any pet at home, when you talk about a cat or a dog, now the hair that you can visibly see is the guard hair, which is giving them some sort of a protection. But if you comb and groom your pet, you would see that there is a thick layer of hair, and then there is some sort of a fine hair, which is falling under the domain of the thick hair. That is known as the undercoat, which is very, very warm. So he says that the undercoat is being sheared. The undercoat, do you think it is going to grow back? If it does grow back, what is he trying to talk about? Do they grow back once sheared? No answer. If they do, there is no need to kill the Chiru to collect its wool. The wool can be harvested repeatedly. Why does then harvesting of Chiru's neck hair or undercoat turn it into an endangered species? No answer again. So in 2 points, he is making a mention that there is no answer of anything. The basic facts about the source of wool and what kills the Chiru are missing. Now, do you understand? He is asking you a very simple question. He says that if you want the hair or the coat or the undercoat of the Chiru, you can shave it off. If you shave it off, does it grow back on its own? If yes, then you don't have to kill the particular animal. If it does not, then start harvesting it or start rearing. So when you talk about start the farming of the particular animal. In either case, you don't need to kill the Chiru. But again, there are no answers that have been provided to these questions, because the only thing that has been advocated by the Supreme Court is that you have to probably save the Chiru, and there should be a removal of ban on shatush trade, and you should allow farming. How should you allow farming? When should you allow farming? What part of the hair are you using for making the shatush? These things have not been answered. It is just a particular verdict. It is just a particular kind of an order that has been passed by the Supreme Court. Now, if we proceed further, the scientific evidence, they propose that to save the Chiru, we should be allowed to farm it. But the article provides no evidence that the Chiru can actually be reared. Reared means it can actually be farmed. So he says that since we are basically removing the ban on shatush, so that means, of course, you are getting the material from the antelope, you're getting the material from the Chiru, and there is no point of killing it because the hair, it grows back. If you're not killing it, then what makes it endangered? And if you're rearing it, are you sure that these animals can be harvested, they can be reared, they can be farmed? These particular issues have not been discussed in the articles, right? Then he proceeds further to the second case study, the case study that is related to CNG. Now compare this preliminary analysis of the Chiru policy with Supreme Court's stand on CNG. Scientific evidence of unequivocal superiority. Now, un means no, equi means as a word root means equal. So equivocal का मतलब क्या होता है? मैं हाँ भी बोल रही हूँ, मैं ना भी बोल रही हूँ, मैं confused हूँ. लेकिन अगर मैं unequivocal हूँ, इसका मतलब मैं confused नहीं हूँ, मैं clear हूँ मुझे क्या करना है, right? Now compare this preliminary analysis of the Chiru policy with the Supreme Court's stand on CNG. Scientific evidence of unequivocal superiority of CNG over other fuels. Again, he is asking you and telling you a very important fact. It is something that is not established. The evidence that we do have about CNG vehicles is from outside India. No experiments have been conducted on the implications of CNG use in Indian conditions. Not just the climate, but also the technology, structure and myriad. Myriad is when you're talking about diverse uses. Uses of Indian buses, taxis and autos. The precautionary principle waived at issues from global warming to genetically modified food is set aside. So the Supreme Court has just passed an order that the majority of the vehicles, what was the order? The order is given to us here in the second paragraph, that you are going to use CNG for the public transport. Agreed. But are we discussing any sort of an implications in the study for the use of CNG? No. What are we just focusing on? If you look at here, we are talking about the unequivocal superiority. That means there is no doubt that CNG is very superior, right? But to back up this particular fact, there is no evidence provided to us in any article. Then we are talking about the fact that there are no experiments that have been conducted for the use of CNG for public transportation. All the evidences that are there are from outside India. And then he makes a very important claim. You are basically working on a principle where you are not concerned about the environment, you are not concerned about the genetics, you are not concerned about the modification of food, you have left everything aside, you are not talking about the other aspects and the other impacts the CNG may have. You've just passed an order that it is going to be used for the use of public transportation. Now comes the further aspect of it. More astonishingly, no such experiments have even been demanded. This was again something that was very, very important. So when you look at such phrases, it gives you a very, very clear-cut idea of what the author is majorly talking about. So such experiments have not even been demanded. What an oversight. When he says this, what an oversight, so that means he is not very happy about the way the events are taking place. CNG pushers did not conduct or contract out such experiments. It is hard to believe that they would have failed in raising the necessary few crores, especially when the environmental as well as the economic life of millions of Delhiites was at stake. No grant applications to ministries or international agencies could be traced. This was again a very, very important part of the passage. Now, what is he talking about here? First, he says in either of the cases, there has been no experimentation that has been done. And then somewhere in the penultimate paragraph, he is trying to make a claim कि जिन लोगों ने सबसे ज़्यादा बोला कि CNG का इस्तेमाल करना है, उन्होंने कभी फर्दर एक्सपेरिमेंटेशन की बात ही नहीं की, क्योंकि उनका मेजर काम क्या था? They just wanted to fill in their own coffers. They wanted more money by advocating कि भाई CNG को propagate करो, right? They were just bothered and concerned about themselves. आगे उन्होंने आपको क्या बोला है कि even if you look at the grant of applications that have been sent to the ministries, there has been no application that has been sent to the ministry or to any international agency for the utilitarian aspect of CNG and its effects on probably the environment. Facts and scientific evidence apparently played little role in the policy on Chiru or CNG. Science and human concerns became tools of rationalization. In case of Chiru, the human angle got highlighted, but the anguish and harassment of the bus, taxi and auto drivers found hardly a mention in the publications of CSE. So he is again making a very, very important claim here. He says that when you talk about the Chiru, yes, there were a couple of humane concerns that were there, that do not kill it, right? Start farming it. But what about the second issue? The second issue that was related to the CNG, there was no mention of the inconvenience to the bus drivers, to the auto drivers, to the people who are commuting through the public transportation. They parodied politicians, concerns for the people, and palliated. Palliate means to calm down the deafness of the court. Our environmental policy is shaped by Saul's vision, and the science and suffering are summoned mainly for rationalization. Now, if you look at the conclusion, we started by talking about what is Saul's vision. So we are talking about Thomas Sowell. What was his vision? And why are you referring to this whole concept as Thomas Sowell's vision? Because मैंने जो सुना, मैंने उसको believe किया. मेरे को काफ़ी सालों से बोला जा रहा है कि भाई बहुत ज़्यादा ग्लोबल वार्मिंग हो रही है, हर साल दर साल गर्मी जो है वो बढ़ती जा रही है, आपकी रेन्स बढ़ती जा रही हैं, विंटर्स कभी बहुत ज़्यादा हो जाती है, कभी कम हो जाती हैं. दीज आर ऑल द चेंजेस दैट आर हैपनिंग बिकॉज ऑफ क्लाइमेटिक चेंज. बट मेरे को किसी ने उसका कोई स्टडी कि रूट ऑफ द प्रॉब्लम क्या है उसके बारे में कभी भी नहीं पढ़ाया। जो चीज़ मैंने सुनी वही चीज़ मैंने आगे सामने वाले को बताई। What is this termed as? This is known as Thomas Sowell's vision, and that is what he's concluding the passage. Somewhere at the end he is also talking about the fact कि ये सारी suffering जो है, ये जितनी भी confusion है, जहाँ पे भी आपका lack of validation है empirically, ये सब क्यों हो रहा है? क्योंकि हम सबका एक ही vision है, और वो vision क्या है? We are shaped by Sowell's vision. जो सुना उसको rationalize करो और market में बेच दो, राइट? उसके लिए आपको एम्पेरिकल वैलिडेशन या एम्पेरिकल वैलिडेशन की ज़रूरत नहीं है। अब इस पूरे पैसेज को पढ़ने के बाद, एनालाइज करने के बाद हमारे को ऑथर का कौन सा इमोशन सामने पता चल रहा है। बिकॉज ही हैज़ नॉट यूज्ड एनी स्ट्रॉन्ग नेगेटिव वर्ड्स, वी कैन नॉट से ही इज़ क्रिटिसाइजिंग द होल थिंग, ही इज़ बीइंग sarcastic, और ही इज़ बेसिकली बीइंग वेरी सार्डोनिक, यानी कि बिटर इन हिज टोन। But one thing we know, he is not accepting this particular thing. इसने wholly reject भी नहीं किया है. But what is the question that he is majorly raising? There is one question that he is majorly raising, and that one specific question is predominantly revolving कि आपने ये सारे orders pass करने से पहले कोई empirical validation, कोई scientific facts जो है उसका इस्तेमाल क्यों नहीं किया है, right? वो इसीलिए नहीं किया है because somewhere at the end he is concluding कि क्योंकि हम सब एक ही विजन पे चल रहे हैं, जो सुना उसको रैशनलाइज करो एंड उसको आगे एक्सेप्ट कर लो। सो बेसिकली द होल ऑफ द पैसेज इज टॉकिंग अबाउट, इफ यू लुक एट दिस पॉइंट, इट वाज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट दैट देयर हैज़ बीन नो इंक्वायरी, नो एक्सपेरिमेंट्स दैट हैव बीन डिमांडेड। मुझे जो बोला गया मैंने सुन लिया, मुझे बढ़िया लगा, मैंने वो चीज़ आगे करी। मैंने आपको बोला नहीं मुझे इस पर एक्सपेरिमेंट करके दिखाओ, क्यों? क्योंकि मेरा एक पैसिव एक्सेप्टेंस है, right? So this is basically how you're supposed to understand and map the details of the passage. If you read through every paragraph to begin with, when you are mastering the art of reading comprehension, you are supposed to read through every paragraph, understand the central idea, the emotion and the intent of the author of every paragraph, एंड तब आपको पता चलता है कि फर्स्ट पैराग्राफ मुझे सेकंड पे किस बात पे लेके जा रहा है, सेकंड मुझे थर्ड पे, थर्ड मेरे को फोर्थ पे, फोर्थ मेरे को फिफ्थ पे। ठीक, ये सारी चीज़ें आपको तभी समझ में आती हैं जब आप एक फिजिकल मैपिंग ऑफ डिटेल्स करते हैं पैसेज की। अब फिजिकल मैपिंग कोई आपको ये नहीं बोल रहा है कि आप एग्जाम में भी फिजिकल मैपिंग ऑफ पैसेज करिए, बट ये तब मदद आपकी करती है जब आपने स्टार्ट किया होता है टू अंडरस्टैंड द बेसिक्स ऑफ रीडिंग कॉम्प्रिहेंशन। So once you're reading through the basics of comprehension, you understand this particular thing that the author is talking about this part. This is how much I'm supposed to retain. The other, that is the subordinate idea, I can get away with it, right? तो आपने जैसे जैसे आप 15-20 passages पढ़ेंगे, आपका ये mapping of details ये धीरे धीरे कम होता जाएगा और आपका mental imaging of passage जो है वो बढ़ता चला जाएगा, because that is totally dependent and subject to understanding as to what are the facts and figures that you need to retain, what are the facts and figures that you can get away with, and nobody is expecting you to memorize or understand 100% of the passage. Even if you understand, let us say 70 to 75% of the passage, you should be able to have a decent attempt in the questions, right? Now coming to the questions. The first question is, which of the following statements is not true in the context of the passage? Now, as I discussed in the beginning, this is a very basic passage, so the questions are also going to be basic. In the following sessions, we are going to graduate from basic to something intermediate and to something advanced. So when you look at the basics, now first question says, which of the following statements is not true in the context of the passage? First says, facts and scientific evidence apparently play little role in the formulation of an environmental policy. ये तो करेक्ट है, क्योंकि शुरुआत में वो आपको क्या बोल रहा है, फैक्ट एंड साइंटिफिक एविडेंस नहीं है, मेरी गट फीलिंग को जो चीज़ बढ़िया लगी, मैंने एक आधे मिनट के लिए सोचा, मेरी अंदर की आवाज़ ने बोला हाँ यार ये चीज़ सही है, मेरी इंट्यूशन ने बोला ये चीज़ सही है, मैंने उस चीज़ को फॉलो किया, तो यानी कि ये तो करेक्ट है, दिस इज ऑलरेडी गिवन. Both the Supreme Court as well as the CSC have misguided people by giving them incomplete information. Incomplete information क्यों है? मैंने आपको facts and figures दिए ही नहीं, मैंने आपको बोला ये आपके लिए बहुत बढ़िया है. मैंने कहीं पे भी आपको उसकी मॉडिफिकेशन, उसका ग्लोबल वार्मिंग पे क्या इम्पैक्ट है, बस राइडर्स पे या बस चलाने वाले को, ऑटो राइडर पे या ऑटो चलाने वाले को, लाइक वाइज टैक्सीज पे इसका क्या इम्पैक्ट होगा, वो मैंने आपको नहीं बताया। मैंने सिर्फ ये बताया भाई ये बहुत बढ़िया चीज़ है। क्यों बढ़िया है ये तो मैंने आपको बताया ही नहीं, क्योंकि मेरे पास स्टडीज़ जो हैं वो इंडिया से रिलेटेड हैं ही नहीं, एंड आई डिड नॉट इवन फील द नीड टू कंडक्ट इट। सो दिस इज ऑल्सो करेक्ट। Both the Supreme Court and the CSC have been misguided by being given inaccurate information. अरे उन्होंने तो इंफॉर्मेशन कलेक्ट ही नहीं की है, तो उनको इनएक्यूरेट इंफॉर्मेशन कौन देगा? उन्होंने ना तो एविडेंस कलेक्ट किया है, ना उस एविडेंस को उन्होंने मार्केट में लोगों तक पहुंचाया है। Saul's vision has a lot of lacunae, that is lack, shortcoming, loopholes, and needs to be supplemented by accurate, relevant information bases. What is the accurate and relevant information base that we are talking about? We are talking about the validation in terms of empirical evidences, scientific experimentation, right? So ये भी correct है कि वो आपको बार बार एक ही चीज़ बोल रहा है, भाई मुझे साइंटिफिक वैलिडेशन तो दो, मुझे एक्सपेरिमेंट्स तो दिखाओ बिफोर फॉर्मिंग सम सॉर्ट ऑफ अ policy related to economics or environment or whatever XYZ, right? So this is also correct. So which is the one that is not true according to the context? ऐसा नहीं है कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट को कुछ गलत बताया जा रहा है। It is सुप्रीम कोर्ट खुद ही इंटरेस्टेड नहीं है फर्दर इन्वेस्टिगेशंस कराने में। If you come to the second question, which of the following statements best describes the organization of the passage? Now coming to question number 2. If you look at the question stem of question number 2, it says which of the following statements best describes the organization of the passage. Now when you talk about a particular question whereby you're supposed to figure out what is the organization of a passage, it is a detailed oriented question whereby you need to understand where is the first paragraph taking me to, what is the basic intent of the second paragraph, third paragraph, fourth, and so on and so forth. Now if you look at how the passage has been organized, as we discussed previously also, the first paragraph is asking us a couple of questions. When you come to the second paragraph, the organization of the passage is, we are given a couple of examples. He is trying to build up on some sort of an argument in the third paragraph. Then he picks out the second case study, he is trying to build up on his argument in the fourth paragraph, and then he is basically talking about the shortcomings. So in an organization question, you are basically supposed to understand that is there a thesis statement that is given followed by a couple of examples? Is there some sort of an argument that is given to us, let us say in the first paragraph, and subsequently वो अपनी ही argument को counteract कर रहा है? या हो सकता है ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ऐसी हो, मैंने ऊपर किसी टॉपिक को डिस्कस किया हो फर्स्ट पैराग्राफ में, सेकेंड पैराग्राफ में मैंने एक पर्टिकुलर सेट ऑफ स्कॉलर्स का ओपिनियन उसके बारे में दिया, थर्ड पैराग्राफ में मैंने सेकेंड सेट ऑफ स्कॉलर्स का ओपिनियन उस टॉपिक के ऊपर दिया, एंड फोर्थ पैराग्राफ में मैंने उनके मीटिंग पॉइंट बताए, फिफ्थ पैराग्राफ में मैंने उनका पॉइंट ऑफ कंटेंशन बताया। तो इसका मतलब मेरा प्रोग्रेशन ऑफ थॉट क्या है? दैट देयर इज अ टॉपिक, there are opinions, then there are counter opinions, then there is a meeting and a segregation of opinions. That is precisely what we are supposed to understand in this question type. Now if you look at the first question, the author uses two illustrations as supporting statements to bolster his or her argument. Bolster means to strengthen. First of all, we need to understand that he is not using two examples. He is discussing them as a part of two case studies. So there is a very, very fundamental difference between using an illustration and a case study. When do you use an illustration? You use an illustration when you discuss a particular concept, एंड कॉन्सेप्ट को और ज़्यादा डिफाइन करने के लिए आप एक सेट ऑफ एग्जाम्पल्स देते हो। वैसे कायदे से इलस्ट्रेशन का मतलब होता है एनीथिंग दैट इज बेस्ड ऑन अ पिक्चर। सो लेट अस से यू गिव अ पाई चार्ट और यू गिव सम सॉर्ट ऑफ अ डायग्राम, but contextually illustration also means to exemplify what you are trying to talk about. So he is not using these two as examples, he is using them as evidences of specific case studies whereby we have been told that there is an order but there is no fact to validate the order. So definitely these are not the illustrations. Second, so this point goes out. The author presents his or her side of the case and then admits the opposition in by saying that they too have a valid argument and it is based on humanitarian grounds. Now let us look at the traps that are here. First of all, he is not admitting that whatever the opposition is saying is correct. He is basically trying to say that yes, there has been one part of humane aspect that has been given in the case of the Chiru. But what about the CNG? Are we being humane towards these people who are going to be traveling by autos, by buses or by taxis? Are we even considering humanitarian aspect related to the drivers, right? So he's not talking about the humanitarian aspect. Second point, again, we've just discussed this, that is based on humanitarian grounds. He's not accepting that whatever the opposition is saying is absolutely correct. No. He's totally refuting, not refuting exactly, he's totally standing in some sort of a disagreement related to what has been stated by the Supreme Court. If you come to option number 3, so this also goes out. The author presents his thesis. Thesis is the primary argument in the form of a question. Of course, we can see that there are a couple of questions, and somewhere at the end of the first paragraph, he is asking us a very important point, that do we follow things blindly because we have our gut feelings? If you're just going by your hunches or your gut feeling, that means you are not validating anything. मुझे अच्छा लगा चीज़, मेरी gut feeling ने बोला ऐसा करना चाहिए, मैंने कर लिया, right? And then he's asking us very categorically that is it that we are just following Sal's vision, or is it that we are going by some sort of credence? So the former is correct. We are just blindly following whatever a gut feeling is.
Okay. तो अब ना कुछ चीजें लिख लीजिए.
Thesis, yes, he does. In the form of a question, we've discussed the question he's asking, that are you just using a rhetoric to rationalize your actions? And then gives 2 case studies as stand-in points. What are the 2 case studies? The first case study is of the CNG, and the second case study is of the CSE, whereby you're trying to
traditional morality,
save the endangered.
Very important. एक कीवर्ड है जिसको हम बोलते हैं slave morality. एक कीवर्ड है जिसको हम बोलते हैं slave morality.
Forward before us. We can keep this
critic of traditional morality.
The author begins by asking a lot of rhetorical questions. Yes, he does. So first half of the statement is absolutely correct, and then answering them in the rest of the passage. If you have understood the passage very clearly, and if you read through the passage very clearly, he says that there are certain questions that cannot be answered in the abstract. He's using a very strong word. It cannot be answered in the abstract. Why? Because there is no credence and no validity. And then he's describing why they cannot be basically answered in abstract by discussing 2 case studies. So of course, this option also goes out of sight. So the correct answer is going to be option number C, whereby he's presenting his argument that we are going by a gut feeling, and to validate his argument, he's presenting 2 case studies on which certain orders have been passed by the Supreme Court, but no evidences as to why those orders are going to be beneficial have been stated anywhere in the. Now, if you look at question number 3, the question stem says, according to the author, which of the following criteria has been ignored in the article on the Chiru? अब फिर हम चिरू की अगर बात करें, हमारे को क्या बोला गया है? हमें एक चीज़ बोला गया है कि भाई वो एंडेंजर्ड स्पीशी है, तो उसकी आपने फार्मिंग करनी है, बट हमें ये तो बताया नहीं गया क्या उसकी फार्मिंग हो सकती है, फार्मिंग नहीं हो सकती है. ठीक, आप दूसरी तरफ से बोल रहे हो कि अगर उसकी फार्मिंग नहीं हो सकती है तो आपके पास वाइबल ऑप्शन क्या है, क्योंकि आप बोल रहे हो शातूश तो मार्केट में जाएगा ही जाएगा, यानी कि जो फैब्रिक, यानी कि जो उसका कपड़ा बनाया जाता है वो तो मार्केट में जाएगा, उसका प्रोडक्शन नहीं रुकेगा, तो उसका रॉ मटेरियल आपका इस एंटीलोप से, इस चिरू से आता है. तो अगर वो एंडेंजर्ड है, क्या उसकी फार्मिंग हो सकती है? अगर उसकी फार्मिंग हो सकती है तो हम उसको एंडेंजर्ड क्यों बोल रहे हैं? अगर फार्मिंग नहीं हो रही है तो मारना ही ऑप्शन है, और मारना है तो वो फिर एंडेंजर्ड है. सो दिस होल विशियस साइकिल हैज़ नॉट बीन गिवन एनी सॉर्ट ऑफ अ फैक्ट एंड फिगर एंड अ स्टैटिस्टिकल डेटा. नाउ, according to the author, which of the following criteria has been ignored in the article? Article में किस किस चीज़ का mention ही नहीं है. There is no rational argument on why Shatush should be banned. We have been told that there has been a removal on the ban of Shatush. तो बैन नहीं हुआ है वो, तो ये तो आउट ऑफ स्कोप हो गया। द ह्यूमैनिटेरियन एंगल इज कंप्लीटली इग्नोर्ड। हमारे को उसने क्या बोला है, इफ यू लुक एट द CNG थिंग एंड इफ यू लुक एट द अदर पार्ट ऑफ इट, ही सेज कि CSC की चिरू पॉलिसी के साथ मैं अग्री करता हूं, क्योंकि कहीं ना कहीं उसमें एक आपका ह्यूमेन इशू है, लेकिन जो आपका CNG वाला है उसमें ह्यूमैनिटेरियन एस्पेक्ट जो है कुछ भी नहीं है, राइट। सो बेसिकली थोड़ा बहुत उन्होंने एक ह्यूमेन एस्पेक्ट आपका चिरू से लेके दिया है कि यार मारना क्यों है, उसका फार्मिंग स्टार्ट कर दो, लेकिन फार्मिंग क्यों स्टार्ट करनी है, कब स्टार्ट करनी है, होगी नहीं पॉसिबल है, उसका मेंशन नहीं है। बेसिक फैक्ट्स अबाउट व्हाई द चिरू इज बीइंग किल्ड आर नॉट प्रोवाइडेड। दिस इज गोइंग टू बी द करेक्ट आंसर, व्हाई? Because you are telling us first that it is an endangered animal. Second, you say that the shatush is made primarily from the coat and the undercoat of this animal. And then because you take off the coat, क्या उसका कोट दोबारा आता है, नहीं आता, उसके बाल दोबारा आते हैं, नहीं आते हैं आफ्टर रिमूवल? अगर नहीं आते तो वो जानवर किसी काम का नहीं है, अगर आते हैं तो फिर आप जानवर को क्यों मार रहे हो, राइट? एंड इफ यू आर किलिंग द एनिमल, then of course the animal is something that is endangered, it is an endangered species, and you say that we want to protect the animal, we do not want it to become endangered. So let us start the farming. But is farming possible? Is it not possible? The article fails to capture these points. So hence the correct answer is going to be option number 3. So the basic facts about why the chiru is being killed are not provided. आप बता ही नहीं रहे, आप मार क्यों रहे हो उसको? एंडेंजर्ड है, उसकी रेयरिंग हो सकती है, रेयरिंग हो सकती है तो फिर मार क्यों रहे हो? अगर मैं बोल रही हूँ किसी चीज़ का फार्मिंग करो, तो इसका मतलब मुझे ये पता है ना कि उस चीज़ की फार्मिंग हो सकती है, मुझे उसको मारने की ज़रूरत नहीं है, राइट? तो फिर वो एंडेंजर्ड क्यों है अगर उसकी फार्मिंग हो सकती है? सो दैट इज़ व्हाट क्वेश्चन नंबर 3 is option number 3 talks about. The Supreme Court's order on CNG is arbitrary and does not tell us why CNG is considered superior to other gas. Arbitrary का मतलब क्या होता है? क्या वो रैंडम है? वो रैंडम नहीं है, वो गट फीलिंग पे चल रहा है, वो हंचेस पे चल रहा है, राइट? अब गट फीलिंग और हंचेस पे वो क्यों चल रहा है? गट फीलिंग और हंचेस पे वो इसलिए चल रहा है क्योंकि वो साउल का विजन को फॉलो कर रहा है, तो वो आर्बिट्ररी नहीं है। ऐसा नहीं आप बोल सकते कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट का ऑर्डर, सुप्रीम कोर्ट का एक दिन मन हुआ उसने बोल दिया, नहीं, उसकी गट फीलिंग ने बोला, उसके हंचेस ने बोला एपेक्स कोर्ट के, सो दे केम टू दैट पर्टिकुलर कंक्लूजन. सो इट इज नॉट समथिंग दैट इज आर्बिट्ररी. आर्बिट्ररी इज समथिंग वेरी रैंडम. Is detrimental to the interest of big transport companies but serves the common man well. Detrimental. It is not detrimental to the interests of big transport companies क्योंकि उसका कोई मेंशन ही नहीं किया गया है. सिर्फ यहाँ पे हमारे को बताया गया कि जो CNG को एडवोकेट करते हैं, राइट, उन लोगों ने अपनी जेबें बहुत भरी हैं इस पर्टिकुलर चीज़ से. Is not clear about what constitutes clean fuel. हम सिर्फ क्लीन फ्यूल के बारे में बात नहीं कर रहे हैं कि किस चीज़ से क्लीन फ्यूल बनी है या नहीं बनी है. हम इस चीज़ को क्वेश्चन कर रहे हैं कि आप हमें ये क्यों नहीं बता रहे हो कि CNG जो है वो एक वाइबल ऑल्टरनेटिव है इन कंपैरिजन टू द अदर सोर्सेज ऑफ फ्यूल. आपने उसका वैलिडेशन नहीं दिया. एक्सपेरिमेंटेशन इंडिया में तो हुई नहीं है, तो वो किस चीज़ से बना है हम उस पर फोकस नहीं है. हमारा फोकस इस चीज़ पे है कि क्यों इस चीज़ को एडवोकेट किया जा रहा है. waives the precautionary principle that is held up for other environmental issues. अरे आप CNG के पीछे पड़े हो, कम से कम आप इस चीज़ के बारे में तो देखो कि आपका जेनेटिकली मॉडिफाइड फूड जो है या कितना ज़्यादा ग्लोबल वार्मिंग हो रहा है बीच में और कितने एनवायरमेंटल इश्यूज़ हैं, उस पर आपने कोई स्टैंड नहीं लिया. आपने सिर्फ एक CNG को, वो भी बिना एक्सपेरिमेंटेशन के, एडवोकेट कर दिया. So the correct answer is option number 4. With which of the following statements would the author be most likely to agree? अब यहाँ पे author के point of view से पूछा है. इन सब में से author किस चीज़ से agree करेगा? Basic scientific data cannot be ignored while framing environmental policies. Probably he would, so we can keep it as a viable option. Yes, he would like to say कि basic scientific data को ignore नहीं करना है while framing environmental policies. Saul's vision is a blinkered one. it cannot be relied upon while framing the environmental policy. ये भी लग रहा है क्योंकि इसने कहीं ना कहीं इसके बारे में बात तो किया है. Humanitarian concerns should include the plight of those who are most likely to be affected by banning a substance or a trade. तो ये भी उसने बोला है कि आपको ह्यूमैनिटेरियन कंसर्न्स को भी दिमाग में रखना है कि अगर मैं ट्रेड बंद करती हूँ तो जो लोग वो ट्रेड कर रहे हैं उस पर क्या इम्पैक्ट है, जिस जानवर से मुझे वो पर्टिकुलर प्रोडक्ट मिल रहा है जिसको मैं शातूश बना के भेज रही हूँ या बेच रही हूँ, उसका उस पर क्या फ़र्क पड़ेगा. आपने CNG बोल दिया कि इस्तेमाल करना है, बाकी चीज़ों को आपने बोला बाकी पब्लिक ट्रांसपोर्ट में चीज़ें नहीं इस्तेमाल होंगी. आर यू इवन थिंकिंग अबाउट the bus drivers? Are you even thinking about the concerns? देखो लास्ट पैराग्राफ में उन्होंने क्या बोला है आपको, but the anguish, that is agony, गुस्सा, pain and harassment of the bus, taxi and auto drivers. आपने इनके बारे में तो कोई बात ही नहीं की, आपने सिर्फ ये बोल दिया इनको बोलो CNG का इस्तेमाल करेंगे. क्या आपने उनसे पूछा आर दे हैप्पी या उनके ऊपर उस चीज़ का क्या इम्पैक्ट पड़ेगा, उसकी वायबिलिटी उनके लिए है कि नहीं है, आपने उस चीज़ पे कोई भी फोकस नहीं किया. सो इफ़ यू लुक एट इट, ऑथर इन तीनों चीज़ों के बारे में बात कर रहा है. सो इट इज़ गोइंग टू बी ऑप्शन नंबर 4, राइट. सो दिस इज़ हाउ यू आर सपोज टू बेसिकली अंडरस्टैंड how to bifurcate the details or how to segregate the major information from the minor portion of the text, how to understand what is that one specific part that the author is trying to project or propagate, right? And this all comes through practice. In the further sessions, we'll be having a couple of more basic reading comprehensions whereby you will get some more clear-cut understanding कि आपने passage को कैसे समझना है, कितनी इन्फॉर्मेशन को आपने रिटेन करनी है, कितनी इन्फॉर्मेशन को आपको बैकलॉग में रखना है, किस किस टाइप के क्वेश्चंस हैं जो बहुत रेपिटेटिव हैं, एंड किस तरह से आपने सिंपल टर्मिनोलॉजी जो कि ऑथर इस्तेमाल कर रहा है उससे ऑथर का एटीट्यूड, इंटेंट एंड इमोशन को मॉनिटर करना है. थैंक यू सो मच एंड आई होप दिस सेशन डिड प्रोवाइड सम वैल्यूएबल इंसाइट्स in your academic journey.